Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread. It is time, folks. We're finally talking football games. Week 0 is coming around the corner. And I know there are some people out there, that are a little bit pessimistic about Week 0. We're like, oh, those games are crap. They're useless. I don't want to watch them. It's live action football, folks. This isn't preseason games. This isn't, the 2s and 3s doing the bulk of the work. This is real football that really matters, that really has an impact. And I, for one, am very excited. Anyways, as I said, welcome into the Weekend Spread. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me, we got our esteemed panel of pickers, Boatin Blake and Ty Lee. And we're kicking this thing off officially, the 2026 season. So, guys, very excited for another run of this. I think it'll be pretty fun having, I don't know. It's just always fun to have this every week to talk, catch up, all that good stuff. But I don't know. Looking at our records from last year, we got to step it up, especially with Jameson, who won last year, being in the having won. We've got to be pretty fresh this year.
I'm always floating around 500. It feels like. I think even for my career, I'm like right at 500. So I take two games above it to be a victory. But yes, I think I need to lock in a little bit more. I want to be hitting close to that 60% where we can actually start advertising this. Like, oh, you're going to get a nice return if you're listening to these boys. So.
Yeah, for longtime listeners of the Schooner Pod, you will know that there's two important pieces of context missing. One is that Blake, while he was in law school, participated in the Weekend Spread by just rolling dice so that it would take him less time, and then he would send us videos that we'd play. And I think he had about the same win-loss record as he does right now.
Yep.
When he was rolling dice. And then, of course, any longtime listener of the Schooner Pod knows that there's only one defender of the Oklahoma Sooners when it comes to the Weekend Spread, and that is, of course, me. And my record is below 500 for last year because I went down with the ship every week with OU, knowing that they would not succeed. So, I am looking forward to this new and improved OU that is going to carry me to. We're not going to jinx anything. But people will be happy. People will be very pleased with what we're going to do this season, as will my win-loss record.
If OU falls off a cliff, though, Ty, we're hitting new levels of hate from you. I have a feeling that if OU
because I will be vindicated if OU falls off, which we won't. But I will be vindicated if we are. So,
the thing is, Ty, you set yourself up in a perfect scenario where you kind of win both ways. Either OU fails, and you're like, "See, Brent was wrong. Like this is a disaster," or they're actually good, and you're like, "See, I called it from the start." So you placed yourself in quite an interesting
God forbid
position.
If something were to happen to Brent Venables' job at OU. Just to clarify.
Oh, he ain't going anywhere. New contract extension.
Yeah.
That's, I personally don't think I honestly love it. I love Brent, but you don't have to extend him every 2 years.
I don't get that trend because it's not just y'all. It's like, even with Sonny Dykes, I think we did the same thing where it's just like, yeah, we take the pressure off of him, but I'm like, I kind of need a little bit of pressure here to like show that there's meaningful improvement year to year. And it just seems like every program is locking up their coach at not even around the time when they would get poached. And they're just like locking them up for even more disastrous scenarios later on down the line. I don't get it. We should have learned it with Jimbo that it's like, yeah, don't give the guy has kind of struggled and not reached his ceiling yet another extension that really locks him in for when a big buyout has to come. So don't get it, but
yeah. Speaking of locking something up, I wish if I were in the OKC Metro that I could lock up some meats from 74C Meat Company, sponsor of the podcast.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, Ty. Especially with Labor Day coming up. Like, look, I had a weekend where I had quite a bit of 74C Meat Co. Beef and pork. Got some bacon. We just came back from the lake, so I got some of their bacon, some of their hot sausage. And that ground beef, I mean, unbelievable. If y'all are a big fan of breakfast, like that's the move. Getting that like peppered bacon from 74C, unreal. Their breakfast sausage is great. And then for burgers, I mean, it's just top tier stuff. everything at 74C, it comes from, a ranch up in Guthrie that practices regenerative ranching practices. The production is in-house in Comanche even. So everything is Oklahoman, Oklahoman raised, Oklahoman, produced. It doesn't leave the state. So at a time where, you really don't know what happens, where your beef comes from, what, where all this the chain of events, all of that. It's nice to know one group of people handled the entire thing, USDA inspected, all that good stuff. So you're getting truly high quality stuff that will truly just blow you away. So make sure to head to 74cmeat.com and use promo code Bobby for an extra little off. So that I feel like is the best, just a perfect way to start.
Astute listeners will notice that the promo code is Bobby and not the weekend spread. That way he does not have to share any earnings with Blake.
Look, I actually didn't make that one. That was
sorry guys, they keep putting in Bobby as the promo code, so the money goes to me.
I don't get anybody. Well, actually, no, we actually are getting paid for these. But truly, look, I'm just saying, it's incredible stuff. You definitely got to check it out. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that as the season progresses. But enough preamble. Let's dig into it. And I think week 0 always is delightful. I always look forward to it. But this is one I've been looking forward to for about a year or so, because Boatin Blake's TCU Horned Frogs are making the trip over to Dublin to take on the UNC Tar Heels. TCU, a 7.5 point favorite. This one is going on 11 a.m. Central on ESPN. So super excited to watch this one. I don't know how competitive a game this will be, because I typically feel like UNC is a little dodgy, especially after last year. Who could forget? But I think it'll be interesting nonetheless. So I don't know if we really established an order. So let's go Blake, Ty, myself, and Snake with that. So Blake, you're going to this game as a TCU alum. Break it down for us. Frogs 7.5. How you feel?
Yeah, I feel like this game, just from before we even get down to like the X's and O's, I think vibes will be good on TCU's side of things. For everything that I've been seeing, it seems like the TCU side of the stadium is relatively sold out. Whether people made the trip or not, that's the bigger question. But the tickets have been sold really on the TCU side. It looks like UNC is still struggling to sell out many of their sections, which I guess just kind of puts into perspective where these two programs are at. I think TCU this year, even though there is some people that are pretty down on them, I feel like as a more optimistic Frog fan, like there's a lot of continuity on this team. It's like, yes, we have a new quarterback in Jaden Craig, so you got some newness there, but really the offensive side of the ball, besides Eric McAllister that left, our lines basically all returning, our wide receiver rooms looking about the same, and the running back room. And so I think with all that continuity, TCU will probably look a little shaky in this game to start. We're implementing a new offensive scheme under Gordon Samus, who comes in from UConn, and I think will, in the end, be way better for TCU. You're going to have a more balanced balance between run and pass, where in the past, like a Kendall Briles system, the run was basically useless. So I'm excited to see guys like Jeremy Payne, who was the star of the Alamo Bowl last year, get involved. I'm excited to see what the wide receiver room after Eric McAllister leaves. Jordan Dwyer's the guy that's really going to have to step up and be wide receiver run. But we have some young guys. I know Terry Shelton, we brought him in last year. He was a former four-star guy. He's a guy I'm super excited about. But I think this team is going to be pretty good this year. We have a tough schedule in the Big 12, but this is a game I'm not really worried about. North Carolina just kind of seems in shambles. It's like Bill Belichick's son, who's the defensive coordinator, had to leave the team for a little bit for some health issues. Then you had Lombardi getting removed from the team for some reasons we still do not know. And then just all the drama around Bill Belichick. They kind of, when you look at a second-year coach, this should be a year where you're exceeding. Like, you've got your plan in place, and we're now going to start seeing some of the returns. he's basically dealing with the same situation he had last year. A lot of people transferring out, not wanting to be there, having to rebuild almost exclusively through the transfer portal. They announced their quarterback last week, and the line moves up a point in TCU's favor. I just don't think there's much optimism around it, around this North Carolina program, which scares me as a Frog fan going into this, because if we lose, like, this feels like a season's over type of loss, just because nothing about North Carolina inspires hope to me right now. So I'm going with the Frogs. There's no way, regardless of what that spread said, I'm choosing them, especially first game of the year. Like, the optimism's at an all-time high before you start playing the ball. So give me the Frogs.
Yeah, Blake says the optimism's at an all-time high, but I could sense a little bit of apprehension in him. But I know that apprehension in him is because he's a TCU fan, because he cares, right? There's deep consequences for Blake's emotional state if TCU somehow loses this one. From my perspective, 7.5 is insane. I think whatever you want to say about TCU, I can come up with at least 8 points worth of way worse things to say about the state of UNC and the vibes. And like Blake said, you can go look at social media. Listen to the people that know these teams the best, and that is the fans. And the fact that no one from UNC is shilling out any money to go to Ireland to watch this game tells me everything I need to know. They don't expect this to be a touchdown loss. If UNC fans were like, we'll put up a fight, but we might lose by a touchdown, they'd go to the game. They don't expect this to be a 7.5 loss. I'm not the person to take gambling advice from. This seems like tremendous value. This seems like something that will move as we get closer to the game. I love this. Give me my beloved Frogs.
Yeah, this is an easy play for me. I honestly am kind of surprised that 7.5 is the number. We saw it last year. Chapel Hill, all of the vibes, all of the energy was a total 180 from where it is now. A lot of optimism. This was back when, College Game Day had their whole production from Chapel Hill. They did the whole preamble. The whole 33rd NFL team thing was riding as high as possible. And TCU just laid the lumber to, the Tar Heels from the jump. I feel like this is a situation where UNC made a mistake. They know they've made a mistake. And I don't really see how this is going to get any better for them. I think they're just going to kind of go through the motions and eventually fire Belichick and have to start over and pick up the pieces from what's a massive, massive mistake. The one thing they have going for them is that Ireland is weird. These games can throw some really bizarre results. In fact, I think just about every one of them has been weird the past couple goes. The Iowa State K-State game was a total mess on both sides. You had Georgia Tech beating Florida State the year after.
Who's ranked at the time, I think.
All the other games have had like a rivalry aspect to them, though.
Kind of.
Like even when they're not supposed to be competitive, right? Like Notre Dame and Navy are both sides consider that a rivalry. That was closer than it was supposed to be, but right, like it's a neutral site rivalry game, even if Navy fan, but Navy's worse. Like K-State, Iowa State, right? There's some locality. Like this one just seems very like I like the matchup, but I feel like there's less potential for spookiness if it's not like a conference game or like
I'm glad it's
proximity here.
Conference games in week 0 is just something we need to ban just as a society. That should not be allowed. You can't you got to give teams at least a little lead up. Like you got to give them a warm up before you get into conference play. Like the thing that actually matters now to get you to the playoff. It's like we gotta abolish it.
I mean, the amount of time. I mean, you saw it. I mean, Florida State just immediately just fell apart that year. But I mean, you saw it with Nebraska and Northwestern. The Huskers had, I think, a good amount of optimism, and 2 weeks later, Scott Frost is fired. The double whammy of losing your first game and being having that first tally, that first L in the loss column for the conference standings, it just hurts you across the board because you're not going to win a national title. And you're certainly not going to do really much in the conference if you're already starting out 0-1 before anyone else gets a chance to snap. It's a bad deal. So I agree with you there. But no, I really like TCU. I like Sonny Dykes a lot. I think we saw a really strong bounce back last year from the Frogs. A couple things that like that record could have been a little bit better than what it ended up as. So yeah, I'm big on TCU 7.5. I don't think it's going to be a beatdown the same way it was last time, just because the Ireland weirdness affects everyone, like we just kind of said. But I think the Frogs got 7.5 covered pretty comfortably. Cool. Last thing before we move on. So what's your itinerary like for game day in Dublin? Like what
Yeah,
are you just letting it rip, or
I kinda, yes. I'm going to, so like I know they're having the like kind of like a midnight pep rally the night before at a bar.
You guys want to
So
be
kinda
A&M so bad.
No, but it's not like going to the field or anything. It's more just meeting up at a bar, and then they're doing kind of like I think like a bar crawl or pub crawl type thing beforehand. So I'm probably just gonna do that and just let it take me there. I didn't want to plan this too much. I just want to see kind of where the fans were, just enjoy the experience with fellow Frog fans over abroad, and just yeah. And then Sunday, I know we're gonna do Guinness, so. Hopefully have a victory Guinness at the Guinness Brewery. So
is TCU the home team for this in air quotes?
I think technically yes, because we moved it from Fort Worth to Ireland.
So this will be special for TCU fans because this will be like the closest thing you guys will ever have to like a game in a college town.
Oh no! I won't accept the Fort Worth slander because it's not like Austin where
like a college town
is located. UT is located like right in the middle of Austin, like downtown and all that. What TCU has, like their little pocket of Fort Worth, feels very separate from downtown Fort Worth. So I will give the Frogs credit for that. I feel like they do have a bit of a college town vibe in ways that the big city vibe wouldn't. Lend you to think.
But also, cool thing, the uniform matchup, I think it's just going to look great. I think UNC's colors and then TCU rolling out the Shamrock Frog. I got my polo ready with the Shamrock Frog already on it. So,
yeah, that's one thing I will say about TCU. They know how to dress for an occasion. They did it with the Rose Bowl. I'm so happy that they did it for the Ireland game as well. So really excited to watch this and excited to hear back from you on the whole experience. So I'm very, very happy for you. A little jealous because I don't think the Sooners would ever do something like that.
I'm like,
they're too big. But anyways, all right, let's move on to our next game. So from a 7.5 point spread to a whopping 38.5 point spread. It's the San Jose State Spartans heading to College Station. Jeez, no. Heading to the Coliseum to take on the USC Trojans. USC, a 38.5 point favorite. That's one going down 2 p.m. Central on NBC. Yeah, so USC projected to be a very, very big year for them. I think the Lincoln Riley is at a place where I think some people like. I don't want to call the seat hot yet at USC, but they need a good season. I think the luster is kind of worn off, but I got to say, offseason wise, absolutely nailed the defensive coordinator hire, bringing in Gary Patterson, one of the best defensive minds in the game. And I'm really intrigued to see what he brings to this USC defense that has, really struggled to figure itself out predictably. In the Lincoln Riley system. So very, very intrigued about that. I think this has a chance to be a very big season for USC. And, 38.5, that's a garbage number. I think they still just blow them out of the water. I think USC is trying to make a statement this season, and I think they do so in a big way right off the bat at home at the Coliseum. So I'm going to take the big, ridiculous 38.5 point line. And I don't know. I feel like this is a USC 42 point win, something like that. We're kind of sweating it. I don't love it. If you're going to potentially put, some money on this thing, either Polymarket or whatever. Or if you're in a state that has legalized gambling, don't do this one. Just have it on the background because you don't want to lay 38.5. That's ridiculous.
I love this one. Lincoln Riley in week 0 early on, just absolute cupcake opponent. I love 38.5. But again, if you've listened to the weekend spread for more than one season, you'll know that especially early weeks, kind of 0 through 2, I love always making sure whenever possible that I pick just the most ridiculous spread, typically as long as it's between, major teams. But I like, it's a rough one, but I like USC. It's fun. It's fun week 0. You have to, and if you are gambling on it and you lose, it's good. That's more motivation and opportunity to gamble the rest of the year because now, you got something to earn back. So there's really no losing here. Put the house on it.
Yeah, I always get worried with some of these big spreads like this just because it's like it does take like one weird pick 6 or fumble 6 that can completely flip the board when it comes from a spread perspective. But I think San Jose State is kind of just they're a little bit of a zombie team right now. They had the unfortunate incident where Colorado stole their best receiver, but they had a pretty good quarterback that was there. But then kind of late in the transfer cycle in the spring, Darian Mensah commits to Miami, which then triggers Duke to pull away San Jose State's quarterback. So they really have to make up a lot on the continuity perspective on the offensive side of the ball. I think USC, although losing Mekhi Lemon and some of like their better receiving core, Maeva is a perfectly good college quarterback that I think USC, like if you look at them last year, it's like, yeah, the losses were there, but 2 of your 3 regular season losses were to Oregon and Notre Dame, who are just better teams than you. Like there's no shame in that. But there is, it's like the pressure's now on with Lincoln Riley that it's like, okay, you had in 2022, you got to the Pac-12 championship, lost to Utah there. But really, besides that, we've seen a lot of disappointment. It's been a lot of there's not been a lot of 2-loss seasons. It's been more 3, 4, 5. That's not acceptable at USC. I think Lincoln Riley's definitely on the hot seat here, that even I think after an average season, they would be willing to pull the trigger and go find a different guy. Bobby touched on it. The Gary Patterson thing is very intriguing for me. We won't see much of it this game, but Gary he's one of the best defensive-minded coaches of all time. But whenever he was hired as an analyst at Texas or an analyst at Baylor, whenever they're playing TCU, and he was brought in for those games to try to like bring in a defense since he's so familiar with the program, we smoked him like almost every single time. So I'm curious to see with a fully bought in Gary Patterson at the coaching level that he's just in charge of no personnel, like he's just coaching ball, how that's going to turn out. Lincoln's always respected him. I think USC is going to be a very intriguing team this year, but not much to say about this game. I'm just going to take them just because I don't think San Jose State will be able to score. But yeah, this is just a dangerous line. A stay away from a personal betting perspective.
Yep. All right. So that's kind of the play on it. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm with you. It would be a stay away, but I feel like whichever side you take, you're going to get bit by the end. So I don't know. We all like the Trojans to bounce back after a rough summer for the Trojans. So moving on, we've got an ACC matchup, that dreaded week 0 conference matchup we talked about. It's the NC State Wolfpack against the Virginia Cavaliers. UVA, a 5.5 point favorite. You can find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. Blake, this game was, I think, supposed to be played in Brazil.
Yep, in Rio. And then I guess like some promoter just like lied that they like had set up the game. I don't know. I feel like the details surrounding why it didn't end up happening in Rio is pretty shady. And now it's at a home stadium, not even at a neutral site in the US.
Yeah, we got a Fire Fest situation here. I guarantee you. Like these,
but honestly,
got Fire Fested.
I feel like kind of dodged a bullet. Like I don't imagine any of these fan bases really wanting to go to Rio, and just I don't know. I just feel like that one was just set up for a disaster to begin with, even if the game went through.
Yeah, for sure. Blake, who do you like?
This one's a hard one for me because I go back and forth because UVA, although Chandler Morris wasn't granted eligibility, they go on to Bo Perbula, which was a guy I kind of liked out of Penn State. Has some good legs, can move around the ball, and it feels like Tony Elliott. Like I thought he was a bad hire just because I wasn't a big fan of him when he was an offensive coordinator at Clemson. But I feel like he's really found his way to make UVA just kind of a strong out. They play a lot of close games. Like this program just loves to play close games, and they win a lot of those. But I'm like, close game scares me when you're picking spreads. NC State is just gutted when it comes talent wise, but they have an awesome quarterback in CJ Bailey. This one's just hard because I go UVA. Although they bring in a lot of transfers, it's a lot of guys that had a lot of snaps around college football. So it's like experience. Whereas NC State, it's like Dave Doran just kind of like, even with a horrible talent roster, is bringing these guys to at least 6-6 every year. I'm going to go NC State to keep it close. I don't think they beat UVA, but UVA has played too many of these little one-score games. They were kind of always floating on it last year, and it went their way most of the time. But just like even scanning their schedule, it's like they only won by 1 point versus last year's disastrous UNC side, 2 points by Washington State. Like this team just kind of plays to the competition regardless. I think UVA overall is going to turn out better in the ACC. Don't trust them game to game. So I'll take NC State plus 5.5.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, this is Rio game, not super weird to me. When I think the potential for a college football Rio game, NC State and UVA, nowhere near the top of that list. Like,
couldn't have picked two like worst teams.
I really don't understand, even independently. Like even if you paired one of these with a team that I would be like, oh yeah, I could see them playing in Rio, it's still just very confusing. For me, I like we got to start to change it up. So give me UVA 5.5. I don't know. I'm known for leaning towards the favorites, I guess, but I like the color palette is more pleasing to me. I think it's more interesting if I pick opposite of Blake. So give me the Cavs, give me the Cavaliers.
So here's my thing. I have developed a deep personal beef with UVA, and not because of their actual team, but because of their team in the college football video game. I have a online dynasty with my dad and my brother-in-law. And I'm Virginia Tech. I'm doing great. I've been cruising all season long, undefeated. I play them in the Commonwealth Cup. They stomped me. I'm like, okay, that sucks. Play them again a week later in the ACC championship. They stomped me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm out of principle. I'm quitting the game now and just going to play them until I beat them. I lost to UVA 9 straight times. 9. And I eventually stopped. My wife was like, why are you doing this to yourself? This is horrible. So still make the playoff, which is fine. And I get all the way to the national championship. And guess who's there? It's freaking UVA. And they beat me again. I went 0-3 against UVA in the final 6 games of the season. I beat Ohio State, beat Miami. It doesn't matter. UVA just showed up out of nowhere and just ate my lunch and just kicked my ass over and over and over again. So the video game version of UVA, at least for some reason against me, was phenomenal. I like them at home. I like Perbula a bit. I feel like this is a good spot for a guy, like a kind of 5th year type of guy, coming back from Chandler. I almost called him Chandler Morwins. I don't know. I feel like that's a good bounce back spot. NC State has been kind of a little bit in decline. I feel like the past couple of years. So I like UVA at home 5.5. That feels like a solid pick to me, especially given the home aspect. I think that negates some of the weirdness that you see with week zeros. So, anyways. Let's move on to our next game. It is the FBS debut for the North Dakota State Bison, who are hosting Jacksonville State, a team that is also relatively new to FBS. The Bison, a 6.5 believe 6.5-point favorite. And this one is at 4:30 p.m. Central on CBS Sports Network. So entering this season when we did a whole setup where we, kind of picked teams, over under, I was kind of a little bit on the underside of North Dakota State. This is year one. There's kind of a last minute move. And I still do overall kind of think that, but I also feel like when you see these week 0 games where you have a team that's making their debut, there's always a little bit of a bump. And I think North Dakota State is a program that is going to be really good, that is going to be one of those perennial teams that you see in the playoff, one of those later seeds. I'm going to go with the Bison to cover here. Opening game bump. The Fargo Dome is going to be absolutely popping for this one. So Bison 6.5 is my play. And it's just such a good little number. I love a 6.5.
I think you have to go with the vibes, kind of like Bobby was saying. First game, they get it at home. Excellent time slot. I can't imagine a team would be more fired up than the Bison are going to be for this one. I like this line a lot. Anything can happen in college football, and this is not to say, Jacksonville. They could carry this one away. They got Jacksonville State. One thing to say about Jacksonville State, they got a big band, a big band over in Jacksonville, and they throw out pretty big scholarships, 15, 10, 5 million, something like that, scholarships for band people. But you got to go to school for this decade. But give me North Dakota State University -6.5.
Yeah, this one, just the vibes play. It's like I think every team struggles jumping from the FCS to the FBS level, just because I think we'll see with North Dakota State, and I know we talked about it on our initial win totals pod, that it's just the grind of having to go up against better competition week in, week out. Just you can never relax. There's never those stretches where you have 3-4 games where you're favored by 28 points and you're going to just kill that team. I think North Dakota State's going to struggle, but on a first game basis, when it comes to a Jackson State team where Cam Cook, who took them to the CUSA playoffs last year, is now up in Morgantown, they're a tough out, but I think just vibes win the day. I think this crowd's going to be electric. I think it's the most expensive ticket in town on week 0. So give me the North Dakota State Bison.
All right. Clean sweep for the Bison. Moving on to our next game. We've got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I feel like they're a week 0 mainstay because they'll have it. They're on island. You'll see whoever. They're leaving the island to take on the Stanford Cardinal, who they haven't started school yet because they have the quarterly system. So it's going to be an interesting game. Hawaii won this one last year. On island on I believe it was a game-winning field goal from the Tokyo Toe. Stanford, a 4.5-point favorite at home. You can find this one 6 p.m. Central on the ACC network, which is truly just disgusting. That Hawaii at Stanford on the ACC network. It might be the grossest thing I've ever seen. One of the grossest TV assignments I've ever seen in my life.
Just something about the ACC network, it fools you with its ESPN look to it, but when you get to the ads, there's it looks more like Fox News when it comes to the advertisements. It's so bad. Not a mainstream advertiser on there. It's truly a pitiful product over there.
You get some of the real grimy bad infomercials. Like at least one of these things is a scam. Yeah.
You're like, am I watching this game at 2 a.m.? What is this? It's a prime time slot, and we're getting you're lucky to see a Flex Seal. You're lucky to see one of those.
I just think it's gross that we have this perfectly made for a Pac-12 late Pacific time zone game on the ACC network at 6 p.m. That just it bums me out. But this is something we should be watching late into the night. But anyways, Blake, what's your take on the game?
Hawaii. It's Hawaii. The Hawaii Bowl last year just made me a believer of this team. And I think are probably a sneaky, just if we're talking G5 slot, like they have some talent in there that they're going to be good. I think dark horse contenders to get that G5 slot to the college football playoff. Micah Alito just can spin the ball. And it's just like Timmy Chang has found an identity there where it's that same Hawaii offense that you're just like, you've grown to love. And it's just so interesting to watch that I can't go against them this game. I'm like, Stanford is the peak. They're so boring. Like this Stanford team, like a Stanford program that really us growing up, like had some life and some juice there under David Shaw that had some very interesting characters and I think interesting teams, like didn't play a boring brand of football. And now we got Andrew Luck back in the GM position, but they just can't recruit to the same level in the NIL era where they would rather spend on Olympic sports than they would on football. Like they see them all as equal and that's fair, but they're not getting wins anymore. And so Stanford to me is a truly boring program. Doesn't really inspire any confidence. I think they'll probably be a little bit better under Andrew Luck, but it's just too hard in this modern day and age. So give me Hawaii. I know Hawaii off island a little scary, but you know what? Like I think they're going to win outright. So I'd sprinkle a little bit on the money line.
I got to stick with the old adage. I have to go with Stanford here. It's at home. I can't this early until I've been proven otherwise, which will inevitably just lead to me constantly being behind the curve on this Hawaii team. But until proven otherwise, I have never gone wrong just using the islands or off islands. And this, a power, whatever number we're using this season, team like Stanford, even if they are terrible, I just can't give them a home game at night. First game of the season, it's Stanford, so there'll be dozens of people in the stands, some of which may be fans. And I'm not going to finish the joke about what those other people may be. But yeah, give me Cardinals, or not Cardinal singular, I suppose.
Yeah, they're the color rather than the animal. Yeah, I mean, I hate to just be, so straightforward about it, but I'm kind of with you on the Hawaii off island thing. It's a weird vibe. And, frankly, that was an awful Stanford team last year, and Hawaii's like just squeaked it out. And to me, I don't know. I think Hawaii overall, they're a fun G5 team, but I still think the gulf between, even a bad power team and a G5 team, especially with Hawaii's unique circumstances being out there and not really having a stadium, their infrastructure setup is kind of who knows at this point. I love the coaching. I just kind of prefer a home team on this one. I don't love it. I think this is an absolute stay away. And if you like Hawaii, then you do it just so you can root on Hawaii because that's fun. But I think this would be a situation where I go with Hawaii and then I get let down because what I want to happen, and what is the way more fun result is not what I think is realistically going to happen. So I'm going to practice some restraint here. Hawaii off island falls short. Stanford wins this one. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a good game, but I'm going to go with the home team at 4.5. All right, moving on to our final pick of the week. We've got the Memphis Tigers heading to the desert to take on the UNLV Running Rebels. UNLV 2.5 favorites here. It's a 9 p.m. Central game on Fox. Jackson Arnold helming the show there with apparently.
Maybe, yeah. It's like it has not been announced. He's in a deep August QB battle with Alex Orji. Just the guy who's proven to not be a college football quarterback.
That's just a mess. That's just a mess. Memphis is an interesting situation to me because I don't know. I feel like overall I'm kind of I like their as far as teams in the American and the G5, I like their trajectory, but the Jackson Arnold thing and the quarterback weirdness at UNLV is just weirding me out. at the same time, it's a home team, 2.5, and you got Dan Mullen. I think he's going to find a way to figure it out. Give me UNLV 2.5. Memphis just got a new coach, so maybe a little bit of time to figure that out. I don't know. I'm going to go with the Running Rebels to cover 2.5, though.
Yeah, look, I'll put the bottom line up front. It's got to be UNLV. You're telling me I get Jackson Arnold or Alex Orji, coached by Dan Mullen. They have a doctor. One of their coaches is just some random. I mean, I'm sure it's like a PhD, but they have a doctor coaching their defense. One of their other defensive analysts is Vontaze Burfict, who's the guy that's widely credited with delivering the hit that caused Antonio Brown to turn into crazy Antonio Brown and not amazing receiver Antonio Brown. There's just too much funkiness around this Vegas team. You got to ride with them. Memphis, constantly for as long as basically our entire adult lives, Memphis has always been an exciting team to watch. They've always been punching above their weight, I feel like, in football. But going to UNLV this early in the season, I think that the heat is going to play a bit of a factor, that dry Vegas heat, even if it is at nighttime. I think it's big change for Memphis, and there's too much. UNLV is, they're building something out there. Blake used to say they're doing something special in the desert or something like that. They're doing something out there. I mean, what they're doing with Dan Mullen and the island of misfit toys for players and all sorts of other people on the staff, I don't know. It sounds nefarious. It sounds inherently nefarious, but we'll see what happens. I think they're going to nefariously cover this spread. So 2.5 points, it's just too much going on over there. There's too much. What are they doing? It's suspicious. We need to investigate this further.
Yeah, people forget that whenever I started grandstanding for the UNLV Rebs, they were in the darkest depths of college football, only winning about 1 or 2 games a year to now constantly competing for conference championships. Like, it's been rebuilt in the desert. Now we just need to start seeing more consistent results. I think Dan Mullen still the perfect guy out there, but it does not. These teams are a lot of question marks, but I think kind of what you want to see in a perfect week 0 game. I think more G5 programs should be trying to do this. I love the fact that it's 2 premier brands at the G5 level on a mainstream network playing it out. Like, I think this is good exposure for them, but I'm not choosing. If the Rebels are going to be on the slate on the weekend spread, which they are very little, usually a wild card for me, I'm picking him. I think Charles Huff, when it comes to Memphis, I think he's a great coach. I think he's going to turn around that program. I think he is a significant upgrade over Ryan Silverfield, which still don't know why Arkansas hired him, because this guy wins wherever he goes. He turned around Marshall whenever he took that job. Kind of had a weird exit there. Like, he was actually doing well at Marshall, and then they just decided to let him go. Still don't know why, but then went to Southern Miss, which is probably one of the hardest places to play. Places to win in college football, and turn them into a winning team. Like, this guy knows how to coach football and get his guys motivated. But when we're talking about a week 0 game versus a guy like Dan Mullen, who's been around the block for a while, and they have a dynamic running back in Jaden Thomas, and the quarterback thing scares me, yes, but this team has some good legs. It's like, whether you roll out with Alex Orji or whether you roll out with Jackson Arnold, like, the running game is sufficient there. It's just both of those guys just don't know how to pass. I want to see Jackson Arnold's like net worth, their career earnings. I wish, like, the same way you could do a pro player, I wish I could see that with him, because this guy just somehow, the former 5-star, has been able to scam every program out of probably a couple 100,000, if not $1 million at some places. Like, this guy's just the ultimate scam artist. We're talking in the big 2-6s, like, is Jackson Arnold is it finally going to click? It's probably not, but like, that's the good thing about the G5 ranks. Sometimes you don't need them to click fully for them to be a great quarterback. So I'm going to go the Rebs, but yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. This is probably the best, I would say, like, the actual best competitive game on this weekend slate.
Yeah, it is going to be awesome. And I mean, look, there's a chance you're looking at it, and this might be the Mountain West champion and the American champion. So it's awesome. It's an awesome game. All right, that's all we have for this slate. We're not doing a wild card for this run. Pot of Greed
Sacramento
technically
State.
should play.
What about Sacramento State, Bobby?
Do you have any thoughts on Sacramento State?
No, they're just intriguing because I will say they are. When you typically see the FCS to FBS rise, it's your North Dakota States, your Jacksonville States, your Georgia Southerns. Like, these are programs that actually succeeded at those ranks. Like, even Sam Houston State, like, they were able to rattle off, I think, at least one FCS national championship. But Sacramento State just has like a lot of boosters, and they are just like on a warpath determined to be good at football. And so they've just been asking like any conference that is willing to take them. Like, I know they were really trying to get into the new reiteration of the Pac-12 and wasn't able to do it, but like they are on a warpath to be good at football. So they had Brendan Marion from UNLV days, the go-go offense last year, wasn't very successful, and now Marion's off in Colorado. So an intriguing one. They're going up against a MAC foe in Eastern Michigan. I don't know. Like, they're a weird program to me that I've been kind of just following on the side just because they seem to, like, you don't see G5 programs that have never had success try to invest in football as much as they do.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, they, like you said, they hadn't really had any success, and they're kind of doing what SMU did to get into the ACC, where they're like, I don't even care if it makes no geographical sense at all. We want to join the MAC. Like, we'll figure it out. And we'll see how it works. I think it was valuable and worthwhile for SMU to make that compromise, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's like joining a Power 5 program versus the MAC when it's like, we have this year Northern Illinois in the Mountain West, but we have Sac State in the MAC. It's like, can we just not just do a trade here and just at least somewhat regionally align these people?
Like, I don't know how bad the MAC is for Northern Illinois to be like, yep, this current Mountain West is a huge upgrade.
I know.
I don't get it. That is the most confusing bit of realignment right there. Is both of those teams within IU and Sac State.
It's like the American. I feel like is the only G5 conference that I'm like, I can differentiate a little bit, but it feels like the G5 right now is just kind of the G5, and it just doesn't really matter which one you're in. Like, it's not like one conference like out of the G5 has, I think, significant resources over the other. It's just weird. It's weird.
I feel like the Sun Belt has some edge.
Yeah, Sun Belt has. I think they have a good. Everybody's around the same level, and it makes it a very entertaining conference. Like, I don't think you have ones that are significantly investing in football more and less. It seems like everybody kind of has a general level of investment, and they have good programs that have good tradition. But
I think it's more that like they're in a really good geographical footprint, and they're all like genuinely in that area. So it's easy for like parents to travel and all of that.
Yeah.
Where it's one of the few conferences that really does truly make a lot of sense still. I think those are the advantages it has rather than money or anything like that. But I think it makes it
a perfect product.
Fun, yeah, really fun, compelling product for sure.
That's what the old Mountain West was till sides got greedy, and now we have just diluted Pac-12 and diluted Mountain West. So.
Yeah. And now it's just both bad. So
it's just both.
Yeah, Pac-12 is going to be amazing. Don't you guys say that?
No, it's so small. It's so small. I think they're like having to play.
It's a tiny little G5 conference, but it's going to be very entertaining. It's spiritually the new Mountain West.
It has been sad seeing like,
No, but it's not though. It's just like it's all separate.
Yeah, it has been sad seeing Oregon State and Washington State like anamorph into like a crappy G5 team, because Oregon State had its moments. Washington State, they were in a Rose Bowl against OU in 2002, like those are programs that had stuff going for them, and it's kind of sad seeing them on the outside looking in.
One of them deserved it
because of DJU.
Yes, they should have known what they were doing. ball nowhere's new. He curses. Look at every place that he's ever played.
It's so
experiencing
Ireland to
damnation.
bring it back to Ireland.
Yeah,
like
Clemson,
FSU,
Florida State. There's all just eternal damnation for having touched DJU. People were warned, they didn't listen.
Clemson, immediately fell off after DJU.
Yep.
Oregon State literally kicked out of the Power 5. And then Florida State
has won how many games last year? Something ridiculously low, and they still had to keep their head coach.
Yeah. FSU is what?
Florida State's very close to calling up Jimbo.
I mean, FSU beat Alabama and still finished 5-7.
That's insane.
Something that only Florida State or Brent Venables could pull off. They might be a match made in heaven.
Ugh.
But yeah, I'm just excited for football to cap this off. It's going to be a great season. I think it's constantly changing sport, but enjoy it while it lasts. If the ship's sinking, if you're going to try to sell me that the Titanic that is college football is sinking, that's fine. But right now, the 2026 season, the bar's still open and the band's still playing. So I'm all for it. So I'm excited to get into it, and I'm excited to get in the weekend spread with you.
Yeah. If the Titanic's sinking, at least have the violinist play neck as we're going down. So
Titanic sinking doesn't matter to me because I don't give a piss about nothing but the tide. A little double entendre there with the tide.
Well, yeah, that interesting wordplay because you should care about the tide. You probably do care about the tide. It's
I don't know if the tide affected them very much, but
yeah, more the iceberg. But yeah, that's all we got for week 0. We'll be back next week to break down week 1. Blake's just going to be sending probably his picks via video. Obviously, we're not going to try to coordinate him calling it via Ireland or wherever from. I don't even know what time it would be for right now. That makes no sense.
Crazy late.
Absurd. Yeah. But week 1 of the weekend spread coming up soon. And then we're going to start our Sunday show and give you some more information on that one, which should be fun. But while you wait for these games, make sure to go to 74cmeat.com. Link will be down here in the description for both YouTube and podcast form. So make sure head over there if you're in the OKC area, get your orders in, and just get some nice stuff to just grill out. Maybe get some for the smoker, get some beef ribs. Have a little bit of fun. Week 0 is about prepping yourself for college football, for getting yourself in the mood. It's a great test run. So use that to make sure you get some good recipes going, and just kind of enjoy the day. The stress isn't there. You have football on, but not too much football. Perfect time to cook. So 74cmeat.com if you're in the Oklahoma City area. So, all right, that's all we have for today. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time, and good luck out there, everyone.